Live from New York, right?
We are live now, yeah. It's on.
It's Saturday morning. So just a couple of remarks before we start. Andy said that I'd send out emails to people, and so I didn't give him all the addresses that I use. So he only got responses from people who are interested in the live stream. So I don't know if everybody knows that what I did send out was some handouts and the Tibetan text, the PDF of Tibetan text. Actually, I did say in the beginning, in the first email. So there are the two main texts that are appropriate to the class are available in English translation. Somebody told me that the Geshe commentary very expensive, but I think the only ones that are available now are like, I don't know, $80 or something, which is a little pricey. But somebody contacted me about the class and told me that there is a newer edition, which is called Arya Deva's 400 Verses. Is it something like that? 400 Steps of the Middle. Oh, you got it. Okay, so that's a newer edition, and that's not so expensive. I think new prices, they're a little less than 30, and they're used copies for 20 something. And that's the main text that we're going to be reading from. The source text for that, the Indian source text for that, is Chandrakirti's commentary on the verses. And so we're going to be focusing on the first 4 chapters, and someone an academic 4 chapters. It's called, what's it called, Illusions or something? 4 Illusions, and that also I think used copies. I don't know. Again, I bought that a long time ago, so I hope you can get copies of that that are not exorbitant. So those are the 2 main texts. If you don't have them, I would. And let's see, what else was it? Oh, we'll also be probably referring to the Lama Chemo passages here and there. I think today we'll read something from that. I don't know if you brought the Tibetan, if you read Tibetan, and then possibly also the modern Lama text called Namdro Lakchan in Tibetan, and that's available. You can get that from Mahayana Sutra Tantra Press. That's expensive. That's new copies are only volume 1251. If people want, I can bring some of those maybe next time. Anyway, those are the main texts that we'll be using. Okay, so time. So we'll start. We'll do a few verses recitation. Start with the Yönden Shigurma, which is Soldev prayer to the lamas for blessings and foundation of all virtues. Okay? Yönden Quinge Shigyo Trinjenje Zushinden Balamgi Zawaru Lekbar Tone Beba Dumayi Gurba Jember Tenba Jingilo Lenjin Yembe Dawe Tensandi Shindu Nyega Dunje Shigune
Ninzen Gundu Ningo Lembe Lo, Yunche Mewa Kyawa Jingi Lo, Luso Yawa Chui Chobo Ji, Yutu Chipe Chiwa Chenwa Dang, Chiwe Jesu Ludan Dimashi, Karna Lenge Chishin Dangwa La, Nyekwa Tembo Nyene Nyebe Cho, Chashin Chawa Nanyang Bongwa Dang, Keso Dada Drubar Chevala, Dadu Badan Demba Chingilo, Chebe Mingon Dunga Kungi Go, Yide Mirun Sive Kunsogi, Nimerine Arbe Devala, Tunye Tembo Gilo Chingilo, Nanda Samba De Tambayi, Jindan Shishin Bayu Chimbo Yi, Dewa Kunkyan De Jawa, Tone Jawa Jawe Kugyarwe, Janju Senju Chomba Jingilo, Senzan Ge Yansu Dunam Sumla, Gomba Mena Janju Minju Bar, Lebar Doni Gelse Dombala, Samba Jawa Lobar Jingilo, Lobe Yula Yunwa Jishe Yanda Elan, Yudu Gila Gewa Jingilo, Tungo Lanjan Yudu Gilbana, Teba Kungi Shogyu Dorje Te, Gesan Gewo Juno Dambate, Dela Nidu Juba Jingilo, Tete Muju Nani Drubeshi, Nanda Damsi Dhamma Sumwala, Shama Mibe Nemba Nigyone, Sotan De Sumwa Jingilo, Tene Gyude Gorinigi, Tena Kishin Dane Sambayi, Tenshin Jo Chole Miya Wa, Dambe Sunshin Druba Jingilo, Dedar Lansan Tumbe Shenyen Dang, Sushin Drube Donan Shaden Shin, Shina Nangi Bardu Jube So, Nyewa Shiwa Shingi Laptu So, Kyewa Kundu Yamna Lama Dan, Drame Chigi Bella Langshu Ching, Saran Langi Yunten Ratso Ne, Doje Shan, Go Hwan Yor No Sho. Sangye Churan Sogi Chunam La, Janju Bardu Dani Gyasu Chi, Dagi Chunye Give Sanangi, Jola Pencha Sangye Drubar Sho, Sangye Churan Sogi Chunam La, Janju Bardu Dani Gyasu Chi, Dagi Chunye Give Sanangi, Jola Pencha Sangye Drubar Sho, Sangye Churan Sogi Chunam La, Janju Bardu Dani Gyasu Chi, Dagi Chunye Give Sanangi, Jola Pencha Sangye Drubar Sho. Saji Bugi Shushin Mento Tran Rira Linjin Ninde Gemadi Sangye Shindu Mikde Uwargi Jogun Namna Shinla Chabar Sho Irama Guru Ratna Mandala Kumni.
I'm sort of a proselytizer for Tibetan, to read Tibetan. I got to say, I'm a retired proselytizer. I don't do it anymore. I'm a frustrated, retired proselytizer. Anyway, I like to read Tibetan with those people who are interested in reading Tibetan, and I like to read texts that are practice oriented, to kind of give people a little bit of the experience, the kind of the aesthetic side of Tibetan, aesthetic side of Tibetan, rather than just kind of abstractly reading Tibetan. And then secondly, those of you who don't read Tibetan, you shouldn't feel that you're being neglected. I'm happy to reading text. What I will a little bit add to it, which I think is really my, I don't know what to call it, a bias, but my sort of something that I don't know what to call it, a bias, but my sort of something that is my personal view is Westerners. That's a very in that it, you know, there's a certain kind of sharpness of explanations that's in the philosophical material that will kind of make your awareness or your understanding of the Lamrim topics. I don't know what's the right word. I mean, experientially a little bit more force, and so hopefully that would enhance, you know, your efforts. If you do have an interest in the Lamrim tradition, I think it's really extraordinary form of practice. So that's kind of the approach that I'm going to take here. Andy said that, you know, he was interested in reading some of the, and that's fine. I think I'll tell you why I picked this particular text in particular. So the Lamrim itself is a Mahayana tradition. Even though there's so-called 3 levels of instruction, and the first 2 are not especially Mahayanistic in nature, you know, they are sort of considered the preliminary and Kibujin, right? But if you listen to teachers, they make the distinction. They say, well, when, you know, that particular instruction shouldn't be taken as Kibuchungu. Means the actual Kibuchungu's practice. Kibujin shouldn't be taken as Kibujin. It should be Kibuchungu da tumoela. Kibujin da tumoela. Tumo means shared. Shared means common to both those. It's meant as a preliminary for the main instruction, which is Kibuchembo. Which Kibuchembo means then from the part of the instruction where you start to cultivate Bodhicitta. And then the Bodhicitta and you know, the practice-oriented paramitas, those are one side of Mahayana practice, and then Tawa, you know, correct view. That's so those are the 2 kind of essential, you know, aspects or practices that are the heart of Mahayana practice. Then I maintain that, you know, most of the people here that are here, I recognize, and you, as I am, you kind of basic ideas. But the Lamrim is not an intellectual exercise. It is meant to be practiced, and practiced in the sense that you are actually meant to meditate on it and achieve what are described as you know, legitimate forms of realization. They use the word tokpa, Lamrim tokpa. So tokpa means realization. And, you know, usually we think of realization, we think of realization of subtle impermanence, or realization of emptiness, even subjects of faith. For instance, the first main topic in the Lamrim, especially as Tsongkhapa teaches it, is developing a particular kind of faith towards your teacher. It's an affective, there's an internal sort of you know, emotional state of mind, rigorous way, in the same way that you may be familiar with doing retreats. So, for instance, there are other tips that the same author. So the point is that there is a very formal way to cultivate the Lamrim practices. I'm not going to go into it too much. Some of you probably are somewhat familiar with that aspect of the tradition. Others maybe learn Chenmo, for instance. That aspect of it is actually discussed in the Shenyan Tenso part. Shenyan Tenso is the topic. And so there's the Jorwa, Moyashi period is completed in between the meditation period. So for instance, if you're doing a retreat, you would have maybe 3 or 4 periods a day throughout the 24-hour day. So then Tunzam means how you practice during that meditation period, and then Tunzam is I won't go into them here. In Lama Chama, they're mentioned and they're discussed a little bit in the Namdro Lakchang, which is the modern Laman text by Pabonga Rinpoche. He devotes a considerable part of the teaching, first 6 days or so before they teach, to that practice. To the English translation, I put a translation of the Georgia ritual, the Georgia to prepare for the actual meditation. So then when you get to the meditation part, then you're meant to reflect on what the explanations that are given in relation to that topic, using a form of meditation that Tsongkhapa and Gelugpa's system calls Jiegong. Jiegong means analytic meditation. Jiegong means to investigate or to analyze. And so this is the heart of the types of the type of meditation that is used for these early practices in particular. So Jiegong means to use. You can use canonical passages that describe a particular topic. So there's Lung. That's Lung. Lung means then the canonical scriptural passages. And then Rikpa. Rikpa means then the reasoning, which is meant to give the justification for a particular explanation that's being presented. Then both of those are legitimate aspects to meditate on. So then as you cultivate them using analytic meditation, then sort of in the Lamrim says as many different methods as you can. Pamukha Rinpoche uses a phrase, Tagore rigorche. Tagore means to go around, to circle around something. Rigor means as if you were walking around a mountain. So it means you go around a topic and approach it from many different. Then as you do that, then you elicit this emotional, response to the instruction, which is the purpose of the meditation, and you meant to do it in a way that that emotional, attitude is very strong. And then when you develop it, and you feel that it's as strong as you can generate in that particular meditation session, then you try to hold it. You try to keep your mind focused on one point. So that's alternate between, force to the experience. Then you go back and you revisit instructions. So from that point of view, the more instruction that you have, the more explanations that you have, it kind of informs your meditation. Then you have a better chance to then form of that understanding. And so that's a really important, that's something that's really emphasized by Lama Tsongkhapa. He talks about it a lot in the Lama Chimbo. Then just to kind of finish out this point. So that kind of practice is called, to develop those kind of experiential states artificially. It means that you're not able to call up that emotional quality spontaneously. Unless you put your mind through the process of reflecting on the instruction, you won't be able to, awaken those emotional, spiritual attitudes, in a very strong way. So it means that that's an intermediate level. So the purpose of the meditation is to develop those experiential states by the artificial method of thinking about the instruction. Then so that's Java. So then the aim, the ultimate goal is for those experiential awarenesses to become Jema Mayimba. Jema Mayimba means natural, not artificial. Jema Mayimba means then, in this case, it means almost like real, have a real understanding of it, so that just bringing the topic to mind, then that allowing the instruction and sort of appreciating it. So I guess you could say Lamrim is not meant to be taken as just some kind of intellectual entertainment. So that's a kind of introductory point. All right. So then specifically, my thesis, my claim is that in particular, the Kibuk Jing instruction. Kibuk Jing means the middle level of the Lamrim instruction. That means the Four Noble Truths teaching. There's two main forms of the intermediate level of Lamrim teaching. One is the Four Noble Truths. The other one is the 12 limbs of dependent origination. So then the goal of that instruction in the context of Lamrim is to cultivate what's called Ninjungi Sapa, Ngebar Junga. Ngebar Junga usually gets translated as renunciation. Actually, the word Ngebar Junga, it means it's a synonym for liberation, for moksha, for dharma. So Ngebar Junga, as it's meant in this context, means the aspiration to attain deliverance, literally, as a synonym for nirvana, hinana nirvana, or liberation. So in order to gain that attitude, you have to develop so-called aversion or even alarm or even disgust for samsaric condition, but even that's not enough. Then on top of that feeling of dissatisfaction, which is to free yourself from that. So that represents the truth of cessation. So you have to get from the truth of suffering to by way of the cause of suffering, and then the possibility of the elimination of the cause of suffering, to the truth of cessation, which is in its highest form is the liberation, the cessation of all the mental afflictions. Then if you recognize the possibility of liberation, the real renunciation, what we commonly refer to as renunciation. And then that renunciation then becomes the sort of the jumping off point for the Mahayana. So I maintain that without proper Minjung, without proper renunciation, you cannot start with the Mahayana with any that uncontrived form of Bodhicitta. And I would even maintain is very unlikely that you can achieve understanding of emptiness correctly without first developing an understanding of, in particular, the truth of suffering. And within the truth of suffering, particularly the truth of the suffering of conditional existence, right? Samskara dukkata. Samskara dukkata. In order to understand, it's essential to understand the more, what should I say, more intellectual, for lack of a better word, elements of the doctrine of the Four Noble Truths as they are meant to be understood for instance, as they are portrayed in the Abhidharma literature, meaning you have to understand a little bit about the 5 skandhas, you have to understand a little bit about the impermanent, higher expectation of making progress. And I maintain the same thing is true for cultivating understanding of emptiness. Okay, so I've already said more than I really wanted to about that point. At some point, we'll kind of come back to those points, but that's kind of what I had in mind for this class. So the first 4 chapters, Jinchilok means 4 inverted or the 4 erroneous views, and those are what is actually impermanent to incorrectly regard it or consider it to be permanent, and that's the first chapter. Then the second chapter is Dewa Dungela Dewa. Then that is to hold what actually has the nature of suffering, incorrectly hold it as constituting some form of well-being. Then third one, as in the order of our Dewa's text, is Mitama Latsawan. Mitama means unattractive. Literally, Mitama means unclean. I think the science is Ashubha. Ashubha means impure or ugly. And then Shubha means then a little bit, I think, challenging for Westerners. I don't mean to be, so to say, demeaning to Westerners, but I think that one is a little bit challenging. We'll get to that. I don't want to get into that right now. I don't want to stir up problems unnecessarily. Then the last one is Dhammeva Latakta. Dhammeva Latakta means to incorrectly view the 5 skandhas. So those are the first 4. Okay, so then you can see the opposite of that is to understand the truth of suffering, to understand impermanence, and to understand selflessness. And so those are elements, those are essence of Ibu Jing, right? The level of the intermediate level of Lama instruction. Okay, so I hope to go at that 2 ways. One is to give you kind of a more refined read passages from the Lamrim that talk a little bit about practice. So that's it. That kind of gives you an overview of what I hope to. That's my approach and what I hope to bring out in this class. Okay. So now let's turn to the text itself. So this is disciples, and he was the first Ganjin Chiba after Tsongkhapa. He was considered Buddha's the lineage holder of the Gelugpa's Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching system, first one. And so this is the text, yogic deeds, or where's you told me 400. I did was 4. That's where we are. Okay, so okay. That's what we're reading. As I said, actually, Getabje is giving a little bit of an abbreviated version of Chandakirti's commentary. Chandakirti's commentary is in the other English translation for illusion treatise. I don't want to read. There's a lot in here that I don't want to go word for word because it'll just take up a lot of time, and we want to get to the heart of the instruction. So it starts out. So this is an opening statement of homage. Damba would be the teachers. Jitsun means then they are they're reverent, and Damba means then they are great spiritual beings. Tujishimo and Demba, they are the compassionate ones. So he's paying homage to his teachers. Plural, Demanamla. And then he gives three verses, introductory verses, paying homage. The first one, I'm not going to translate these verses word by word, collection of virtue, and then uses the image pure white like snow on the side of a mountain. Then that virtue also, Yishin Nortsung, means it is like wish granting jewel. Virtue will give you spiritual benefits. Dogu means whatever you desire. Dogu Jonga means it will give rise to it. Shir Gyur, Dogu Jonga, Shir Tunga means then resembling that. Like a source that is like a wishing jewel for all the virtue. And then here is saying, referring to Buddha, Shakyamuni. Saten Dina Quingen She Nir Radrakpa means that he is renowned in this world. Saten means on top of the earth, literally, so it means in the world. Quingen is known as the omniscient one. Joy Lama means then the spiritual advisor for the world or for all beings. Tuang means Munindra. Munindra is Lord of Moons, so that's the Buddha Shakyamuni. The first verse comes to him. Then the second one is to Nagarjuna. Sangye Karsa. Sangye Songtaye Batawe Mikibu. Then he's saying he's like the eye which enables us to see all the limitless speech of the Buddha. It means his explanations give us the ability to understand. Means then, especially means then the ultimate essence of all the Buddha's teachings. And then that's meaning Prajnaparamita, so, etc. Tuan Zokbar Chelne, Tukten Zokbar means Nagarjuna explained in its entirety the Buddha's, the Muni's teaching. And then, having done so, then Nagarjuna himself, then he went to Buddhahood, state of Buddhahood. Ungen Sa means the state of omniscience. So it means when he passed away, he was enlightened. Again, so I make include Ayadeva. Mainly to Ayadeva. So Chunudune is from an early age. Mangta Parosan. Mangta means great learning. Parosan means he reached the far side of great learning. So he's well educated in the Buddha's teaching. It's not exactly following it word for word what's in the original, but Pataya means Tayaba means then limitless. Tayaba Lodro means limitless wisdom. Lodro Kemba. Lodro Kemba means that both the words mean the same thing. Kemba is knowledge. Lodro is like wisdom. Tayaba Lodro means then limitless. Then Patayaba means which reached the far side of limitless wisdom. Kemba yet means he developed limitless wisdom to its furthest extent. This is, I believe, is referring to Ayadeva. Gangi loi sibe guba chom. Then also sibe guba chom means the knowledge, by which knowledge. Gangi loi means by which knowledge. Sibe guba chom means then, this is now giving you two kinds of guba. Guba means misfortune. Then usually the phrase is jikpa. Siba dan shibe jikpa. So jikpa is a word means fear. Then a Mahayana is like it avoids the two extremes. One extreme is samsara, doesn't fall into, Hinayana Nirvana. The Mahayana does not settle for the quiescent Hinayana Nirvana state of peace. That is one kind of extreme, one kind of fear. Then here described as guba, some kind of misfortune. First one is Sibe Guba, however, that is Siva is a synonym for samsara. So that is sibe jikpa. Also, sibe jikpa means then fear of samsara. The word fear in Sanskrit and Tibetan doesn't only mean the emotional state of fear, but it means the object of fear as well. So samsara is a fearful state in that sense, an object of fear. So that misfortune, Jom means then Aryadeva overcame samsara misfortune, right, with his knowledge. Then also, Sangha Tukje, right? So the first one is the wisdom. So there's two extremes. Tala Mineva means not staying in either of those extremes. So then there are various ways of explaining. Usually, then Dhammito Vishira, right? Understanding selflessness is the means for escaping the fear, the peril, the misfortune of samsaric existence, is compassion. So he says, Sangha Tukje. Sangha Tukje means then noble compassion, or you can even say excellent compassion or altruistic compassion. Shiweguba, sel means then eliminates or removes. Dragbe aweki, joy sel. Then Dragbe aweki means then by the light of his fame, then he dispelled the ignorance of the world. This is talking about, I think, still talking about Aryadeva. So here it's saying three things so far. Then his knowledge, then presumably, I didn't even think about this, but presumably his renown caused people to want to learn his teaching, and then by learning his teaching, their ignorance is dispelled. Then here it says Jitun Yabse Shap. So here this is now who it refers to. So Yabse means father and spiritual son. So it means both Nagarjuna and his spiritual son Aryadeva. Yabse Jitun Yabse Shabla Chigodu. Okay, so that's the third word. And then Shinda Chimbo Sheba Toka Nang Rani Lek. That is Chögyö. That is the convention of paying homage to the parts of the teaching. Interestingly, Aryadeva doesn't make any such word of homage. So Chandrakirti kind of, what do you say, and that as Nagarjuna's disciple, he is following the words of homage that are at the beginning of the Mula Madhyamika Karika. Mula Madhyamika Karika, Nagarjuna's major work. Nagarjuna pays homage to the Buddha for having taught dependent origination. Then there's 8 attributes of that teaching that are mentioned there. And so it's that then Aryadeva is then it's implied he is implied that he is while all of his texts are under the aegis of, so therefore that Aryadava's text as well. So that's something that's mentioned here as well. Even this Aryadeva, Chandrakirti says exactly the same thing in his Chandrakirti's commentary to Nagarjuna's Yukti Shastika, right? 60 verses on reason. Nagarjuna's is called the declaration of intention to compose. This means making a reference to what is the nature of Gyaltsab's treatise. So here he says, Rani, starting in Shingda Chembo. Shingda Chembo means the great charioteer. The great, that term is kind of an odd word. So it's the ones who path blazer, like open a new philosophical path. Then the two main ones are Nagarjuna and Asanga. So those are usually called Shinta Chembo Ni. So here it says, Shingdachenpo Sheba means the view of the great trailblazer. That is referring to Nagarjuna. Tokkanang means even empty. Even though it is difficult to understand, Rani Lekshe Gomba Pejirdan. Then he's saying, this is called Kengba Kyungwa. This is a device where the author shows humility. Kengba means pride. Kyungba means then to hold pride in check by making a statement, self-deprecating statement. He's saying, I'm not going to say I'm a great scholar and I understand everything Nagarjuna wrote, but he says, Lekshe Gomba. Lekshe Gomba means my means the excellent commentaries, the excellent explanations. Rahim is myself. Lekshe Gomba Pelcher means to further develop my own practice relating to the excellent explanation. And Chir means for that purpose. And Genden Shelan means and other persons who fortunate persons. Genden means first fortunate person. Fortunate person usually is a euphemism for Mahayanists. Genden Shen means other Mahayanists. Shenlahang means also for them. Pembachalichir means then maybe my commentary will be a little bit benefit to them. Then for that purpose, Denje Chenbo Namshe Yewa Zhou. Zhou means it means Zhou usually translated means some kind of gawa. It means a kind of joy. But actually, joy here means more like or to apply myself to Denje Chenpo Namshe. Denje Chenpo means great treatise. Denje Chenpo is referring to Aryadeva's great treatise. Number Yewa means then to describe it or to Number Yewa means to explain it, to kind of open up the meaning. Number Yewa Zhou. So it's saying that those are the two main reasons why I have taken on the challenge of writing this commentary. Namshe means his own commentary. Namshe Yewa means them to set it forth. So then now that's finished, now it starts the commentary. It says there's 4 main points in explaining the root text, 400 verses, which is called Nenjo Java. The formal name is Bodhisattva practice. Of that name, Siklyo Java means verses. Same meaning of the title. Bodhicitta means the statement of homage by the translator. Shung Dun, then that's the main text. Shung means the treatise. Dun means explaining the meaning of the text itself. Yug Dun means then the conclusion. Okay, so this kind of now there's the convention or tradition in Tibetan to for commentaries, and those outlines are actually considered important because they give kind of structure of the approach of the text and how to analyze it. What the problem with Tibetan outlines is they're not they don't follow the convention of Western outlines, so they're not balanced. They start out like part 1 and 2. Part 1 is like this big, part 2 is like this big. And then you get all these things that are broken down in between, so you can get lost in the outline. So in this, you can not get lost. So this is not important, right? So it says Gyagar Gikedu. So the text, the Tibetan in the Tengyur means the translation of the treatises of the works by Indian masters. Then that's called Tengyur. It means Shastra, translation of Shastra, literally. Tengyur. So here we have the says means in the language of India. So this convention is to show that that this text in an Indian language, typically Sanskrit. And then Bhurgedu means in the language of Tibet, and then it gives the translation in Tibet. So Chatushataka means 400. Bhurgedu Shikawa. Shastra means danger. Shastra means treatise. Karika means it's in verses. Karika is a word for verses. Tibetan Siglyocha. I'm not sure that originally they used the word karika in the original Sanskrit. We don't have, I don't think we don't have, extant versions of Aryadeva's text. Maybe karika is in the title, maybe it wasn't. But at any rate, in the Tibetan title, giving the Sanskrit name, they put the word karika. Then nama also means Xiejiao. Probably, I'm not sure that the word nama even was used in the original. Nama means so-called. So Tibet's a Xiejiao. All right, there's a little bit of discussion here. I think maybe we'll skip. So there are 16 chapters to the text. Each chapter has 25 verses. If you do the math, that's how you get 400. Then there's a discussion here that in certain texts, in Indian texts, and even in extant Sanskrit texts, they refer to Aryadeva's text not as there's some addressing that. So you can read it in the Karen's translation. He says, so obviously the 400 means that there are 400 verses. Then he says that the reason that sometimes referred to as the 100 is because there are 100, dualistic views, erring dualistic views that are being eliminated in the text. So that's kind of an explanation. That's one point that he makes. You see, in 1.5 text, he mentions a certain Dharmapala. I believe Dharmapala was someone maybe around Chandakirti's era. There was a certain Dharmapala who was a teacher at Nalanda, and he was a Yogacara teacher. And there are works by Dharmapala, some named Dharmapala, because sometimes the names more than one person that has the same name. So not with 100% certainty it's the same Dharmapala, but it's likely that this is a person who was either a major teacher or maybe the head teacher or maybe the so-called abbot at Nalanda during the time of a certain famous Chinese so-called pilgrim, Xuanzang. I don't know, my Chinese is not good whether I'm pronouncing properly or not. I believe he refers to, maybe even studied with him, or he was there at the time. And so Dharmapala's commentary on the Chatushataka apparently is just in Chinese. And there was a scholar, Tom Tillemans, who wrote a book in which he compares Chandakirti's commentary and Dharmapala's commentary. I haven't looked at it, I just recently got the book. So that might be interesting if you really want to get into the material. Anyway, Chandakirti, for those of you, Chandakirti, for those of you who may know him, he in his major works is what's the right word? He rejects the Yogacara position as valid. He discusses it at length in the 6th chapter of Madhyamaka Avata. And so he takes strong exception to anybody's attempt to explain Aryadeva in using the Yogacara school. So there's a point about that in the beginning of Chandakirti's commentary. I don't think that Gyatso really says much about that. All right. So we can leave that. All right. So now bottom page 1. This is put in by the Tibetan translator. It says homage to Arya Manjushri. Then it says there are different ways of explaining the translator's statement of homage. Sometimes it is said they do it to ensure success in their effort to translate the text. Sometimes it's said that homage is meant to identify the category of teaching category. So here it says that. So it says this to say that this text is mainly addresses among the three trainings, training in wisdom training. Among the three Buddhist trainings of morality, concentration, and wisdom, subject this mainly is falls into the category of wisdom training, and so therefore it is a kind of Abhidharma treatise. Falls under the category of Dhamma. So very early in my studies, to have the opportunity to study Abhidharma Kosha, Vasubandhu's great treatise on Abhidharma. And it was, for me, just extraordinary. I still use that text. I still refer to it. Despite the fact that it's identified as a Vaibhashika text, meaning that the school that it's related to is Hinayana school, early Sarvastivada tradition particularly. Its influence historically in India, as well as throughout all the Buddhist Asian countries, is unquestioned. So at one point, it's a very important text. Secondly, the second point is a lot of people think of the Abhidharma as a very dry collection of lists, and therefore boring and not worth sort of the trouble to read them. I couldn't disagree more with that. To me, you have to know what those lists mean, you can say. And it is extremely important. Furthermore, I would maintain Nagarjuna's texts, they are Abhidharma. They are a reinterpretation of the original Abhidharma from the Madhyamika. So I would make more noise about that, but let's leave it for now. Okay. Dangolasum, Tenchu de Wabuchawa, Jujichingi Dongo. Oh yeah, here he gives a little bit. So he says, Tenchu de Wabuchawa, this is page 2, top of page 2. And now we're doing Shungidun, right? Shungidun, Sumbalani. At the very end of page 1. Now the third section of the outline is the main text itself. Then the main text, Jidun Sosodun. Jidun Sosodun means a general explanation of the meaning of the text. That's really kind of an overview of topics. Sosodun is then the individual meaning is then addressing each of the chapters and verse by verse. Then Dangolasum. So this is kind of introductory material also. Not need to go into too much. There's one thing here, Tenju Devabuchawa. This Tenju Devabuchawa means the greatness of the author of the treatise. So it's saying Aryadeva, someone talking about Aryadeva's importance. Actually, there's not a lot known about Aryadeva. Chandrakirti's text makes very few remarks about it. Apparently, he was born in Sri Lanka, right? It's a Sinhala. So he's from born on Sri Lanka. They say, royal family, probably well-to-do, whatever. Anyway, he's from let's say a royal family. And then it says he abandoned, the luxury of that lifestyle in order to become a monk. So it's so here's a quote. This is actually line 3 starts Gita, right? This is actually a quote from Chandrakirti's text, the translation. Lokam Pagwansa ni Singale ling chungbe gevose shikte right? So Gewusa means a prince, born as a prince in the island of Singala, so Sri Lanka. Gushing, Gewusa Shikte, and then it says Tar, Geza Borne, means then he abandoned that royal life. And then this is, for some reason, I don't know why Geza left it out, but brackets, it's not in his original edition. I put it in because I think it's important. It says Denidu. Denidu means that very place. So it means he became a monk in Sri Lanka. Denidu Rabdujung. Rabdujung means went forth into the homeless state as a monk. Then he came into southern India. Nyene is a translation of Sanskrit term, which means a student who lives with the teacher. This is not in Sanskrit text because he says here, it is both sutra and tantra teaching. Means he learned extensively both sutra and tantra teaching. Practiced it. And then Kuita Denila means within his life. I'm going too fast?
No, you're fine. I would say in English we're on page 60 of the Yogic Deeds book.
Okay. Let me just say, for those of you who are following Tibetan, I do want you to, to help you with your understanding of Tibetan. Don't hesitate to, interrupt. Well, no problem. You can just call out. You can stick your hand up. Whatever you want to do.
Anybody here that showed up late that speaks Tibetan or reads Tibetan, we have some Tibetan copies on the table up here that we can give you. Not you.
Okay. Good. Okay. So where were we? So here, this is now Geshe. Geshe scholars would probably not agree with that. They would think they think the Aryadeva of the tantric author who wrote works like the Chayamela Pradipa, which is very important Samaja text, and several other tantric texts, is not the same as this Aryadeva. But anyway, in the Tibetan tradition, they identify the same person. Okay, so right? We're on line 6, right in the middle. Like here it says, Lovaniki means the teacher himself, and here it's referring to Aryadeva as the teacher. Lovaniki Jodusu is the short for Jobadubi Drama. That is the Chayamela Pradipa. It's very important Grisamaja completion stage text. It's probably the primary source Tsongkhapa uses in his treatise Rinase, right? The lamp that illuminates the 5 stages of the Grisamaja completion stage path. So he said, here's saying this is saying why he can assert that Aryadeva achieved enlightenment. Like he says, because in his text, the Judu Nenjo Lame Kitumo Maimbe Julu Toba Shegisheshi, he acknowledges. Shegisheva means he accepts, or he will acknowledge. It means he's admitting, but it's not just admitting, it's saying, yes, I did. Julu Toba means he achieved Mayadeva. Mayadeva means the illusory body, which is then divine deity's body, which, if achieved, guarantees enlightenment. So he says he acknowledges that he achieved that, so therefore he definitely became enlightened in his lifetime. So now he says, means when you achieve that Julu, right? Denila then with that very status, means the supreme siddhi. Supreme siddhi is taken to mean enlightenment, tantric enlightenment. Buddhahood. Never toba, then it said Gomolujuki Shevayino. Gomoluju means Nagarjuna. Also, there is a Nagarjuna who is associated with Guya Samaja. Right? He's the author of Pindikrama text, Pindikrita Sadhana, which is a generation stage text. Also, he wrote. He's attributed to him something called Panchakrama, which is the 5 stages, which is a text whose name is the 5 stages, which refer to completion stage. So he wrote both of those. Are really important for that system. So I achieved my. So that's meant to support what Jessa just said. Oh yeah. Okay, so there are some more references about him and the fact that he practiced Shengi Loki. Jeje Shen means mention. If you read the English translation, that's fine. Okay. Then now let's get to the third one, which is Nebechok. Nebechok. Okay, so just so you know, I'm going back up to the second line. Nebechok. So that word Nebechok, Neba means what's correct, right? That phrase is maybe not familiar to you. So the other one is mistaken view, right? So Jeje Shengi, Lotok Sell, right? So then the third one, Nebechok means what's really correct. Here, Nebechok. Dorgutitema means then we're going to briefly present that. Yeah. So where is that third?
Sumbani.
Come on.
Third line up from the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Ona? Okay. Ona? You know what that means? Ona? Well then? Ona? This is what, in that case, right? He's finished talking about mistaken view. Then he says, oh, now this we don't get, this is also not important. So he's saying, no need for Aryadeva to write this text because Nagarjuna wrote plenty of texts. His texts are complete and, don't need Aryadeva to write anything else. So he answers that. But what is it about Aryadeva's text that adds to what Nagarjuna wrote and therefore, justifies his having posed those texts? You can read that as well. This is now in the 400 verses Rusanam text, so you can read about that there. Okay? Oh yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. D means this, with this treatise or in this treatise. How does it show the stages of the path? This is important. Jayabhara, it means in the commentary. It means Chandagiti's commentary. Kangle jitembe ngobo jita neba shin. Number chene ringi dana tengyu ba. Chandagiti writes these. This has to be verse, but the meter is off. There's one extra syllable, first line. Anyway, Chitembe Ngobo means Lokavastu, worldly entities. Worldly entities means relative truth objects. Kunzob Demba, right? Objects, relative truth objects, dualistic objects. Number chene means having explained what their nature is, then Aryadeva explains Dandam. Dandam is Paramartha. Paramartha means then ultimate truth or emptiness. So it's saying the
the order of the text is to address relative truth first. Fourth chapter of Nagarjuna's text, the Buddha's teaching is based on the two truths. Right? And then so without understanding relative truth, then you cannot gain access to ultimate truth, something to that effect. That is a really very powerful statement, and also difficult to understand what that means. I propose to, it's kind of how I would address that, well, what's the word? Well, experientially knowledgeable of the Four Noble Truths or dependent origination as the foundation for practicing. I would maintain that that's how to understand that statement. Okay. Then here he says, "means means the commentary says that, and then he says, "Rajya Dangbo Shi." Okay, Sakwatanchya means the five skandhas, which are Sakwatanchya means Sahasrava. Sahasrava is a Sanskrit technical term for then Asrava is a synonym for the kleshas. So Sa Asrava means related to the kleshas or associated with that word, right? Skandha is the word for Kumu in Tibetan. So you say Sa Asrava Skandha is a compound in Sanskrit. So it means the skandhas which are related to the asravas. Asrava literally means outflows. It's a very ancient term. Jains use the term. I'm not very ancient. And Jains, interestingly, they use the word opposite way. They use it flowing into you, that the impure karma flows into you. That's how they use the term asava. In Buddhism, they use the term that asravas means several interpretations. One in the one Abhidharmakosha says that the mental afflictions / asravas, they ooze out from the womb, either become attached or develop, or they generate some kind of a mental affliction in that process. And so in that sense, those asravas flow out through the sense faculties, and then the mental afflictions are then activated and then strengthened, and then the process of samsara is kept in effect. So here that's an important term. Sahasrava skandha or sakwatanchya kumbo. Sakwatanchya kumbo nga. Those five skandhas related to the mental afflictions considered as a result, and that is the object that is represented in the truth of self. So important term to understand that technical expression. So here he says, so Sakwa then hold the wrong four ways of wrongly holding our impure. Like it or not, we are made up of five impure skandhas. You can say impure for sahasrava. It's a kind of loose way of talking about the term. Who are we as samsaric beings? As samsaric beings, we are made up of the five impure skandhas, five samsaric skandhas, you can't even say. Then, as we experience our five samsaric skandhas, both within our own, then we make wrong judgments about those five impure skandhas. And actually they're impermanent, so mistakenly we believe that things persist in time. That's the first one, right? We think that we're the same person who walked into the room. Then in a more refined way, we're not. We change every moment. And that's the first one, about impermanence. So here he's saying, Jinji Loktu Tene means in the first four chapters, Ayatthaya shows what those four mistaken views are, that we all, unfortunately, are subject to as a way of then instructing us that they are wrong, and thereby implication that we should overcome them, right? 진실로 그때는 korwala yi yung kebe sul. Yi yung is that I'm sorry, yi jung. Yi jung is it means the idiom yi jung. Jung means literally means to arise or come forth. But here this yi jung is more it refers to the sense of dislike or dissatisfaction, or there's a word which is called in Sanskrit called udvega, sometimes also samvega, and it's a sense of disquiet, a sense of alarm, a sense of dread, a sense of, you can even say terror about our current condition. That is the proper response to lack of control over our very being, and more often than not, we're just making things worse. And if we understand this correctly, we should be very much alarmed by it. We should be very much upset. Sometimes the actual Tibetan word usually is kyo, which usually means to be sad. But in this technical use of it, kyo is not a passive meaning in notions, and the fact that our condition is one where we are not currently able to do anything to remedy it in an ultimate sense. And then there is an image, which I think it comes in here, that's mentioned, that where Buddha, I guess showed you, uses a phrase, you should, the practitioner, not necessarily monk, can be anybody, who reflects on their current state. So there is Yanda Pongwashi. There's something called the 37. There used to be a phrase called the wings of enlightenment, which is really kind of a not accurate. It means qualities that are conducive to enlightenment. The last one is the Eightfold Noble Path. The first one is the Smriti Upasthana, 4 kinds of, I call recollection. A lot of other people say mindfulness. Then the second one is Yangdak Ponshi. Yangdak Ponshi is abandon what needs. Also very important. It's to say Miguel, right? So it's couched in terms of non-virtuous qualities, especially non-virtuous attitudes, jealousy, hatred, anger, all of the mental afflictions. Miguel Makeva means which you have not yet developed. So if you've never killed a parent, right, which is a good thing, right? Those are the worst kind of misdeed, right? The 5 kinds of, what are they called? Anantarya, means immediate misdeeds. If you haven't generated that kind of misdeed, then mikeva, then avoid doing it, right? So make sure that you don't let yourself generate those kind of non-virtuous deeds that you have never done. That's one kind of abandonment. Second one is Gyeva, then Pawa. Gyeva means any bad qualities that you have developed, right? Then you should make every effort to overcome them. Pawa means get rid of them. Then the opposite with virtue. Gyeva, Makyeva, any virtuous state of mind that you know about, but that you haven't yet generated, Gyeva Gyeva. Then you should strive to develop it, right? Makyeva Gyeva Gyeva. And then Gyeva, those that you have developed, and don't let them diminish. And in terms of the path, those are part of, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Jorlam, part of Jorlam, or it means actual, after you achieve real renunciation, then this is one part of practice which the main essence of which is forms of Tundru, is not let yourself generate virtue you haven't yet generated, and strive to generate those virtues you haven't yet developed, and strive to make stronger those that you have, right? Okay. So then what the Buddha said is we should reflect. And if we recognize there are certain kind of non-virtuous deeds which we have not yet gotten rid of, but which we need to get rid of, then we should be as alarmed about the fact that we haven't gotten rid of them as if our head and or our clothing was on fire, as concerned as we would be if that were the case. That's how concerned we should be to get rid of virtue. If there is some virtue which we have not yet developed, but we know how to develop, we have not applied ourselves to it, and we recognize that, then we should have same degree of concern about it, right? So that's one description of the kind of emotional quality that is being encouraged here. Yin Zhuang means if you have great apprehension about your samsara condition, then that's not enough. Then you should also have this here. Then he says, Yin Zhuang means generating that, present that in detail. So we have to develop that kind of term. Then especially then it's the five skandhas arise. Their arising is dependent on causes and conditions. Then therefore they're impermanent. That already is a huge philosophical statement. Anything, then here he says, Chiwa mitakwa gomsu gevertembe gone tanzin chinchilo govertenga. Okay, so then mitakwa to practice to gomba, right? To meditate on impermanence, there's two kinds of meditation. One is mitakwa, rapa. Rapa mitakwa means rough impermanence. Rough impermanence means meditating on our mortality. Then that is in the first chapter. There's also some reference to tawa mitaka, subtle impermanence. Tawa means subtle impermanence. Then that means keiji chiki mitaka, right? Everything lasts only for the instant that it arises, then immediately it ceases to exist. Then both of those are mitaka. Actually, the second one is then also crucial. I hope to. Okay, so he says by explaining how to meditate on impermanence, especially impermanence about rough impermanence as represented by death or mortality, then Tangzin Chinchilo Pongo Tenla. Then he in that manner, then he shows us that we must overcome, we must abandon Tangzin. Tangzin means the tenderly. Then from here, then we're going to read something and then go to the actual verse. Okay? Because we really haven't done so. Take a break. 5 minutes. Short break. 5 minutes. I'm going to start in 5 minutes. So you can take longer, but I'm going to start.
There's some cookies and
No, I'm
cheese
not
up on
gonna do
the
that,
thing
but-
there. Somebody needs.
Okay, and then we're going to read from the Lamri Chemu about Chomita. If you have Lamri Chemu. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to start the first chapter, and a sort of an introduction into it. We're going to read a little bit a passage from 8. This is at the very beginning. The heading is Kibu Chungu Dan Tumo Lamgi Rimba, it says, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Kibu Chungu Dan Tumo Lamgi Rimba means, I told you before that, this Kibu Chungu means the instruction for a person of lesser capacity or ability, then, but not work, not the actual practice, that you shouldn't follow that path. You should learn the same instruction as a necessary preparation to extract an essence, literally. And so it means so that has leisure and opportunity, then we shouldn't waste it. Then it's rare and very valuable. We can accomplish much if we use it properly. Therefore, then what we do is we use it to nimbolemba. Nimbolemba means to gain something of value or of real substance, spiritually speaking. So all the instruction here, it starts the whole Lama instruction. It says nimbolemba means the actual way to gain some real value in your life. 3 sections. Kibu Chungu is 1, Kibu Jing is 2, Kibu Chembo is the 3rd. So it means all the Lama instruction, when you practice it, those represent the ways to derive something of value. Okay, so enough of that. Then first main topic is Chomitaka. Chomitaka, meditating on the impermanence, rough, and then so in the first part of this is Chiwa Jemba Magombe Nimik. So there is a kind of technique which is actually very what I say significant to appreciate, and it relates to the fact that our most basic instinct is to avoid what we think is harmful and to pursue what we think is beneficial to ourselves. That, to me, that is the most kind of basic driving force that all living beings have. So then that dynamic can be made use of in controlling your mind. So one way is then to show pinyin. Pinyin means benefit. And if you hear the benefit of something, then that makes it helpful to you, spiritual sense, attachment, but in the sense that you aspire to achieve it. Then that aspiration will motivate you to make effort in a positive way. Then the opposite of that is mimic. Mimic means disadvantage. Then what are all the disadvantages associated with mental afflictions, for instance? Then mental, flaws, mental shortcomings. And if we overlook them, then that's a mistake. So if we recognize what their disadvantages are, how they are harmful to us, then that will should spark the desire to quit them, to get rid of them. Okay? So here, as part of the practice of Chiwa Mitakwa is one of the first points is what are the disadvantages, literally, okay, so this is now Tibetan. What are the disadvantages that you'll be subject to if you fail to meditate on recollection of death? This is a beautiful passage, and it sets up what we're going to read. Okay, so let's dive into it, and maybe we can do at least the first verse of Ayurveda. Yeah, so mentioned the main topics, then Damuni. Okay, okay, so he says, well, make sure to apply yourself to the task of deriving something of value from this human life that has leisure, spiritual leisure, leisure to practice Dharma. Jubala. Then there are four. Among the four, we already know this, right? The impermanence and happiness, thinking them wrongly. Among the four, right? The erring thought which regards what is impermanent as permanent. That's the then we are here mainly we're going to talk about rakpa, the form of impermanent. Chiwala michiwa nyambe number tokpa mi novego. Then here it just says chiwala michiwa nyambe number tokpa. And chiwa means regarding death, and we develop the thought that we are not going to die. Michi nyambe number tokpa ni means that very the source of harm. Novego. Then this actually michiwa number tokpa is the term, right? Then those of you who are okay, that's it. That's a good term. Then there are kleshas, right? Klesha means mainly are lesser mental afflictions, but they are related to the root mental affliction. Then the classic presentation in the Yogacara school is the Abhidharma Samachara, Asangas text. Then there are 20. Then in the Abhidharma Kosha, there's also two kinds of mental states. The fifth skanda is Vijnana skanda, Namashari Pumbo, it's consciousness, right? And that's main awareness. Then accompanying that is then Enjung, Chaitas, or Chaitasika. Then those are secondary mental states. Then the second skanda is feeling. Third skanda is conception or judgment. And then the fourth skanda is made up of two categories. Some of the mental ones are also all secondary mental states. The non-mental ones are how the mind is able to function. Also, all the virtuous mental states, starting with faith. Then in the Yogacara school, first main virtuous one is faith, and then 11th one is ahimsa. Ahimsa. It's really the source of compassion. Then the rest of them, then there are root mental afflictions and secondary mental affliction. It mainly follows the Yogacara school. So there's 20 secondary mental affliction. But in the Abhidharma Kosha, in the Vasubandhu wrote the root text, Abhidharma Kosha, and then he also wrote Bhashya, which is an auto commentary to the Abhidharma Kosha. In the fifth chapter is on the fetter, the floods, and things like that. Then he, in relation to the term upaklesha, secondary mental affliction, in the Bhashya, he says there is in the canonical, body of canonical writings, there is something called the Kshudra Vastuka means, I think means miscellaneous topics. I believe is what it means. Then he says there are a whole list of other secondary mental afflictions, but he doesn't tell you what they are. Then there's a sub-commentary to the Dhammapada by Yashomitra. Very important text. In his text, Yashomitra said, I don't remember exactly how many lines, it's a whole bunch of them. But he does explain it. Okay? However, Nagarjuna wrote Ratnavali, right? Ratnavali is Rinjin Chang, 5 chapters. Similar to Aryadeva's text in that it talks about the practice as well as the view. He not only lists them, gives gives an explanation. Did I give you one of the handouts or not? No, this is in my own notes, I guess. So, yeah. So, chapter 5, you can find the English translation, or you can find the Tibetan. Actually, this verse is still available in Sanskrit. Chapter 5 mentions some of the other secondary mental teachings. Michi Tokpa Gang, right? Michiwe number Tokpa. Here is the name of one of the secondary mental afflictions. Here mentioned. Tsongkhapa uses this a little bit more expanded form. Chiwa la Michiwa Nyambe number Tokpa, right? He says the thought in which you reflect about your death in a way that you think you're not going to die. That's a long way of describing the secondary mental affliction. Amara means death. Amara vitarka. Vitarka means some kind of, or in this case, sort of inclination. The inclination to think you're not going to die anytime soon, right? So that is the secondary mental affliction. Then that's the one that we need to, remedy. Okay. So here he says this is nabigo dangmo. This is the first source of harm, is to accept or buy into michiuen nabato. Okay, so if you're interested in those all of those other secondary mental afflictions, besides the ones that are mentioned in the Yogacara literature, you can find them in Nagarjuna's Ratnavali, 5th chapter. Okay. Okay, now here's what he says is, Dila means about this thought, this way of wanting to avoid thinking about your death. Dasa means from now in going forward. Tar chiwa. Dasa tar means sometime in the future. At some point, tar means at the end. Chiwa wong nyamba. Chiwa wong nyamba means our death is going to come. Everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows sometime in the future the end is going to come. I'm going to die. Everybody knows that. But the way we tend to think is every individual day we think, not today. It's not going to happen today. So we do that every day. So we try to assume Yamdu le means in our mind, Michua chok zimba means this tendency to gravitate towards the idea that we're not going to die anytime soon. Chira majeba means tendency to think we're not going to die. Jip means it will cloud our mind. Jip not said then we will tend to think said means I'm going to be living here. Said in this life for some time. Lokyen means that mind will be active in our conscious mind. I'm going to be around for a while. I'm getting around for a while. I got to work. So it's saying during that time that you think you're going to still be alive, didn't have a retirement home. I'm not going to go live in the mountains, or maybe go to Florida or wherever you think is a nice place. Then that is attachment to this life. Then that means then your mind focused on only achieving this as relates to this life. Top bajila sem. That's all you think about. Then jiden chima dan tarba da tanje kemba la sokwe dön chembo da. Then if that's all you think about, then what you're not going to think about is jiden chima. Jiden chima means next world. Next world means future life. Then that is the minimal dharma goal, is to achieve a favorable future life. Then a tarba means then that is a permanent Buddhist goal, but only liberation from samsara, hinayana nirvana. Then tamjikamba means omniscience, legitimate Buddhist goals. Kemba sok, la sokpe, then it means then anything related to those goals in la sokpa means and the like. Dön chenpo da means then those are the dön chenpo means big meanings. That means those are the things that are really of importance. Nabatyobe lo means the mind which is examining what those real spiritual goals and purposes are. Mikyo means we won't activate them. We won't spend our time addressing those. Therefore, shola jupe lo kermita. So that means that first thought, that tendency to avoid thinking about our death, it won't allow you, it won't give you the opportunity, it won't let you, mitarwa means not give you, right? It won't let you develop thoughts in which you are wanting to apply yourself to the Dharma, right? That's the first nimik, right? The first disadvantage of failing to cultivate impermanence. That means you won't be thinking about the Dharma. You're thinking, well, let's go to a movie. Let's go have some fun. What are we going to do today? That kind of thing. None of it has to do with the Dharma. Okay, then that's, when you put Dharma out of your mind because of this, then that is, you're doing yourself a disservice. Devla. First disadvantage. La here is a conjunction, right? And Yala means if by chance. It really means 100, but here it means by chance, even though you're still subject to this thought that doesn't want to consider that you're mortal. Means even if you do practices of reflecting and meditating, right? Shukpa means you apply yourself, you engage in those kinds of Dharma activities. But said dibatam giche song, then those activities may fall under the influence of worldly aims. Right? Maybe you want to think other people to think you are a spiritual person. That is one of the worldly thoughts, right? Fame, right? Wanting to be known as a really that Nyamba thing. That among the 8 worldly dharmas, that's maybe the worst one. Even monks and scholars, it's very difficult for them to overcome that. Even they're sitting in a meditation, in a retreat, then they are thinking, oh, who's thinking about me? I'm up here while I'm up here meditating. Then that is, it means your mind is still focused on this life and what the people in this life think about. Therefore, Bodhicitta means therefore you are practicing Dharma, whatever virtue you do practice, tuchuan means it'll be weak because it's influenced, polluted by worldly thoughts. You also may be engaging in those Dharma activities with some kind of misconduct. Niechu means general term for misdeed. Dikpa means bad deed also. Dikpa means evil deed. Toa means then transgression of vows. Or Jupa means you might be subject to those. Therefore, so it means even you are devoted to the Dharma, you think you're devoted to the Dharma, but because of your motivation, even those Dharma activities can become activities which are supposed to be virtuous, but because of your motivation, they are mixed with causes for being reborn in the lower realm. So therefore, it's rare that they wouldn't be mixed with those kind of non-virtuous quality. So just increasing the
So if we're when we pray different times during the day, is that just constantly trying to reassess ourselves and keep our motivation in line? So if I'm going around doing whatever, and I think I'm doing, but then just constantly, is that what we're constantly going to have to do to make sure that we're on the right path and make sure if I'm cooking or if I'm, whatever it is that I'm doing, making sure that it's not so self-centered.
Mhm.
So then I don't.
there is two qualities that you can cultivate. Then just short answer. One of them is called Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is apramada. Bodhicitta, I translate as mindfulness. A lot of times you see translated heedfulness. Okay? Maybe I'll talk about that. But Bodhicitta is one of the 11 so-called 11 virtuous minds. Right? It's actually not a specific mental state, but rather it's an orientation in which you make use of a variety of mental qualities. So the way it's defined in, for instance, in Subandhu's 5 Peaks text, there's 3 kinds of virtuous impulses that are called avoidance of desire, avoidance of hatred, avoidance of ignorance. Those are, I don't want to go off too much on a tangent, but those are kind of the mental sort of something. It's like no, it's kind of like you have to build up a store within you of to be able to draw on it in order to counteract negative impulses. So if you're able to call up the avoidance of attachment, the avoidance of hatred, the avoidance of ignorance, when you are faced with things that are tempting your attachment to them, or anger, and then so you have to be able to address them. And the way you address them to overcome them is to access these 3 qualities. And then the 4th quality is tsundru. Tsundru means effort. And effort just means the ability to summon up some kind of it's almost like a power. It's a willingness to apply to generate some kind of effort. And then so Bodhicitta has 2 sides to it. One is that when you are faced negative impulses, you have to counteract. Right? So Miguel Semsuma, it means protecting, guarding your mind from non-virtuous. And the other side of it is when you're not, when you don't have, you're okay. There's nothing really, challenging you. Your mind is sort of in a state of calm. Then don't waste that time. Then use that time to cultivate something virtuous. Both of those are included in this notion of heedfulness. Okay. Now, so that's the heedfulness or mindfulness. Then, in order to be able to cultivate that, you have to use another quality, which I usually translate as vigilance. Vigilance means it's a kind of wisdom. If you take Bodhicitta Avatar, for instance, in Bodhicitta Avatar chapter 4, and to examine, what am I thinking right now? Where am I right now? What's my mind doing right now? Am I in a good place or am I not in a good place? Sort of just kind of taking a snapshot of what kind of mind you're in. And then evaluating that, and if there's something off, then you have to take whatever action you need to take. If it's in the right place, okay, and then you keep doing it like that. So both of those things are things that you have to cultivate, continue. Those are kind of daily, exercise. So that's my short answer, not that short. Okay? Now it says, if you even if your mind is directed towards the future lives, means even if you allow, even if you say, means it's kind of a just way of discussing, okay, I'm not going to accuse you of not thinking about future life. So let's take it for granted. Means like that. Then the tendency that you can become vulnerable to is no hurry. I can practice maybe tomorrow or next week, or yeah, but my life is right now, don't have the freedom to do it. So when I can, I will. That is the chine rimgi dro, means I'll do it gradually. I mean, sometime in the future. Chishu means the kind of laziness which procrastinates. So that procrastination is another thing that is very easy to come under the influence of if you don't think that your death is imminent. God means you won't be able to stop yourself from procrastinating. If you're subject to this idea that I'm not going to die anytime real soon. Also, nimuktam, means that these are nimuk is double. There are 5 mental what do they call them? Obstacles or obscurations to meditation. Then one of them is muk together. Mi literally means, but it means drowsiness. Mukha means kind of dullness. The mind is kind of torpid. In which the mind is not, you can't activate the mind. So those two counted as one. You become subject to that. It means you don't maintain a sense of alertness. You allow yourself to come under the influence of that. Also, jemotang means useless speech. You engage in your own manner of idle talk, politics. Satung means then also food. You of course you eat. You have to eat, but if you can, keep it to a minimum or keep it simple, whatever. Satung la sope. Namying means distraction. Many different kinds of distractions. Du dawa means your time. You'll spend your time in any kind of distraction. Therefore, therefore you want to use that vigorous kind of effort, strong effort, a very zealous kind of practitioner. Right? All right. So this is all related to this obstacle. Means then, in this way, right, the way it's being described, lusok means your body and your life. You think it will last for a long time. Your rewa means you are hoping, you're anticipating, expecting it will. You're still going to live a long time. Luvanam means you're deceiving. You will allow yourself to be deceived by that kind of expectation and hope. Therefore, then comes nikur dang. And nyava dankoti means that these are nyava means you're trying to seek a material gain. For this is not mainly for, you think of the ascetic, the spiritual ascetic. Spiritual ascetic doesn't care about money, right? But the mind, if you think I'm going to be around a long time, I'm going to need, to support myself. Then that's it. Nyeva means gain. Good means do, that kind of thing. Then that also is right? Seeking praise. And those are examples of the 8 worldly garments. Right? Then you develop attachment for those aspects of the worldly garments. And it means the opposite. If you think I could die anytime, then it's easy to, those are useless, right? So the opposite is, if you don't think I could die anytime, then those things have more tendency to influence. They get jeba Jedu Dokpala, Adhan Draputan, okay, so therefore, they get Jeva, the obstacle, the obstruction that those qualities present, or to recognize that you are obstructed by them, or that you're likely to be obstructed by them. Jedu Dokpa means to feel the concern that you might be obstructed by them. Dawandrapo means that you should have great, antipathy for that. God, I hope that I can keep myself from having that happen. So Dawandrapo means really strong, antipathy for allowing those obstructions to develop. Then Dedagi means those disadvantages that were described. La Mongba means if you don't think about them, you're going to be oblivious to what you're subjecting yourself to, that you're allowing yourself to become subject to those disadvantages. Imuk, that is a kind of ignorance. And Dedagi, so you'll be oblivious to the fact that you are subject to that. And also, then comes Nagyo. Now we're talking root mental fiction. Nagyo means then you think more of yourself than you ought to. Then you be proud. Chagdog. Chagdog means Chagdog is the envy. Then interesting. In Buddhism, envy is kind of anger. It's thought of as anger. It's the anger that comes from noticing the other person's good qualities that you don't have. Then that comes. For example, when you speak ill of another person as a way of that person's not so great. Many times it really comes from envy. They have some kind of good qualities, but you don't want to play them up. So it's a kind of cynicism and negativity. And those can come from a place of envy. Means that those mental afflictions and secondary mental afflictions will be flowing like a river all the time. Then those are in the mind. All of those are attitudes. And from those attitudes, then in the worst case, you are Dedanya means then there are 5 near immediate deeds. You can find those in the scripture. Dambechapon means rejecting the Dharma. I've been interested in Dharma for so long. I learned something. I'm not getting much out of it anymore. So, why don't I just move on? And that actually is, from the point of view of a person who learned to the Dharma, that is the person rejecting the Dharma. And that is considered harming yourself. You commit that misdeed, then the karmic result is, in the future, more difficult to meet with the Dharma. So it's the very thing. Dambechapon. So. So you are welcoming, you are bringing into being the karma which will take you to experience the grave suffering of the lower. Then you will allow yourself to develop those excellent and powerful forms of bad deeds that every day, and they will just continue to become stronger. Then what you will be losing is then the antidote to those bad qualities. Means the well-spoken Dharma, which is like then ambrosia that brings death. You're turning your back on the nectar of immortality, which the Dharma represents. 解救是送呢，我这当来给眼来给烧解，烧解 means you kill, you destroy the life spirit of the path to higher. Nguanto means higher realms, rebirth. Literally, it means a elevated state. It means favorable future. Elect is a technical term, which literally means which there is nothing better. And it refers to liberation. And those are the two technical terms for this goal are Nguanto and Elect, higher rebirth and permanent goals of liberation and initiative. Then Sokjeva means then you are destroying the spark, the life spark that allows you to pursue those goals. 念着读文章进去了，查询一度你往为念书，去为鸟中年。Then when death comes, when death destroys your life, then you will find yourself in the lower realm where the suffering is it is in horrible forms of suffering. Your own bad karma will lead you there. He says. Therefore, then here he says, Dele marumba. Now notice, it is Rashi rungarung. Just the Rashi rungarung means inappropriate. Appropriate. Mirung means not appropriate. But the second suffix letter, rung, doesn't mean appropriate. It means then something, literally it means something corrupt, something spoiled, or something wrong, something defective, something wicked, something bad. So it's nothing worse than that. There's no greater than ruin than to allow yourself to be subject to those disadvantages. He asks question, what other thing is there which is worse than that? What could you don't think into that kind of anytime soon? There we go to that thing. Then also there's a quote, the severity of not counteracting this secondary mental affliction in which you allow yourself to entertain the fact that your death is not soon. All right? So, now let's read the verse. Now we're skipping to very bottom of page 4. It says dango lani. Yeah, that dango is this first chapter is to how to abandon the first erring thought of regarding what is impermanent as permanent. Yeah? Then it says Leo Shung, then the name of the chapter comes at the very end. Damola Sum. So now here's the first one. The chapter, the 25 verses in the first chapter, has 3 divisions to it. And this gets at this outline. Okay, here's I told you that heedfulness, the heedfulness of making effort in regard to the path to liberation by way of recalling death, by way of being mindful of death. Okay? La kulwa. Kulwa means urging you. Aryadeva urging you to develop that kind of heedfulness. Okay. So now we're this verse. So Yurte Nelshi Milona Delamarunshintiyo. So Delamarunshintiyo means what could be worse than that? Right? What other thing could be worse than that? That's already mentioned. But the first three lines, it says Kanla. Kanla means in whom. Right? It's a relative pronoun, right? So it means anyone. Any person in whom, or here, this Kanla, it goes with the yur. Means Kanla yur means for whom it is the case that. Okay, for whom it is the case that. Then you're subject to Jikten Sum Ngada. Ngada means Lord. Lord of the three worlds. Lord of the three worlds. So whomever is subject to the Lord of the three worlds. Then Rangi. Rangi is the reflexive pronoun, not swayam. Rangi means oneself. Literally means oneself. But it also has, it's also in Sanskrit, it's an indeclinable particle, which has a kind of and in Sanskrit, it's an indeclinable particle, which has a kind of it means like of himself, or almost by himself, who himself, that Lord of the three realms, who himself is death with a big D, capital D, death, and then it's Chidak. Now here, Chidak in Tibetan is Lord of Death, right? But in Sanskrit, the word for the Lord of Death is simply Mrityu, which means death, the condition of being subject to death. So there's no literal word for Tapo or Lord of. It's just death itself. In English, we would say, death with a big D, or personification of death. And here it says, shortened for agent. Jebapo, for instance. And that's the way it's glossed in the commentary. But I don't think actually in the original it's a word that literally means without an agent. There's another word which I speculate it means it's another word for master. So it comes from the root to do, right? As in agent is verb, right? But he has no doer, it doesn't really make sense. So this here Jebume is a word which probably is something that means he has no master. Okay, so the Lord of Death is the master of the three worlds, and he has no master. It means he answers to no one, right? Good. Then it says Nelshin. That is also a little bit odd word. Nelshin. I again speculate that this means Nelma. In Tibetan, Nelma means usually Nelma means that was true. And if you see how does she translate? It says true, and then vanquisher is in parentheses, right?
Yes.
There's a reason why she translated it that way. But I believe the word Nelma is actually really means something more like someone who is, it's a central word is swasta. Swasta means self-abiding, literally. And then has other secondary meanings, which means someone who's healthy, someone who is in doing well, and also someone who is can be confident, doesn't have to worry about anything like that. So really, it means like that, to be complacent. In other words, in the commentary, it says there's a word for arhats, chawacheva. Chawacheva means the one who has done what needs to be done, right? So that means once they reach the arhatship, there's nothing more for the Hinayana to do. So that person can do or not do the rest of their life for their own aim. It's finished. Then here in the commentary, it refers to that kind of person to be Nelma, Nelshi. They're not worrying me, or you're not Nelma. Subject to the Lord of Death. who has no other master. Mhm. Therefore, nilog means then to be asleep. And I think here the word sleep means more like to be inactive, like you don't have to do anything. If we are like that, then so it means if we sit idly by, as if we didn't need to do anything, everything is fine, everything is good. When we are subject to the Lord of that, then what could be worse than that, right? That's what the verse is saying, right? Now let's read the commentary, and then I have one more thing.
May I briefly ask you to just translate those 4 lines together at one?
What could be worse? What could be more corrupt than for someone who is subject to the Lord of the 3 worlds, who himself is death, and who has no master, to sit idle as if he were confident, or as if he were in a good place, then what could be more inappropriate than that? What could be more wrong than that? Okay? Actually, Ruth's translation is pretty close to that, except for the no part. Okay, let's read it. Then this is now Jason. So it says the principal object to generating effort to cultivate the Arya's path, the path of the Aryas, is right? It is this very erroneous thought in which we think about death, that we're not going to die anytime soon. Therefore, means again and again, we should reflect on our impermanence as represented by our death, and in so doing, generate the effort, the sense of willingness to cultivate the Arya's path, the path that leads to transcendence. That's a kind of the assertion. Okay, well, if we cultivate that, says if we cultivate Chua, and this is he's saying if we cultivate this impermanence about death, then our understanding about the nature of suffering will be easy to gain. You gain that understanding. Now that actually is there is a verse in Pramana Vartika which says there is an epistemic link between among the 4 aspects of the truth of suffering. Impermanence. If you understand all impermanence, that implies the suffering of conditional existence. Very easy to develop that understanding. If you understand the suffering of conditional existence, that virtually implies selflessness. If you understand what the suffering of conditional existence really means, it means we are not in control, and we are moment to moment changing, and our mind is under the influence of mental fiction, and we can't do much about it, at least not in the ultimate sense, than to experience that that's how you live moment to moment. That is the subtle form of suffering. Then if you understand that, it means there is no agent, there is no controller of that condition, no separate person, no being that is, pulling the levers to try to stop that. It's just our mind itself that, uncontrolled destroys us, and only by cultivating the path can we liberate ourselves. So then if we're just the 5 skandhas alone, then there are no self. That's one way to sense of self. So he says, do not sok means not only suffering, but even suffering. Becomes easy to understand progressively. Then he says, now this is a mobile means entities, phenomena, impermanence, mainly the physical world and our mental state. Demar means attachment to or our belief that they are real, that they are truly existent. As long as we have that, as long as we're subject to not only, there are mental afflictions are defined in terms of existence in the desire realm. There are forms. Similarly, on the plane of the form realm, there are forms of the mental. There's no hatred, but there are other forms of attachment to those forms of existence. And so, the Sume formless realm also has its own kind of attachment. Right? So in the Hinayana school, for instance, in Abhidhamma Kosha, there are 98. You can take the 10 mental afflictions, and they can be defined as making 98 different forms, and that are related to the three realms. So in order to attain nirvana, you have to destroy all of them, and then that is you have to attain. So this is unique of you. If you are subject to the belief that things are self-existent, right, then that is the antithesis of understanding emptiness. Right? The marikpa, tangzim marikpa means the ignorance that believes things to be self-existent. In the Patanjali, that is a mental fiction. It is a form of mental fiction of ignorance. All the other schools, first of all, Hinayanists don't believe it's an error, but they believe things are real. In the Mahayana, it means by being subject to that form of attachment, to the idea that things are real, you cannot free yourself from the bonds of the three realms person, right? Then you are, means under his power, under the power of something other than yourself. Then means who? Shidak. Shidak means the Mara. There are four Maras. Shidak means any such person. So here that's in the verse. I underline all the words in the verse. Right? So whomever is still subject to belief that things are real, and whomever is still subject to the Lord of Death, that Mara, then that person, now he's explaining Jiken Sum, three worlds. Then you can say three worlds means the three realms, the desire, form, or you can say Sawo, Saten, Sala. Sawa means you can below the earth. There are beings that live below the earth. Naga, spirits, other beings. Sala means on the surface of the earth. Human beings, animals, and so on. Sala means in the heavens. And you can say birds, or you can say like the worldly gods. Then in those three realms, then there is someone who has dominion over all three of those. Gangur Wangchepa. Gangur means as he pleases. Wangchepa, he can control it as he pleases. It means he can bring your death whenever he chooses. Nada. Nada means that Lord, who himself is the king, who's the Lord of death. Shengi, then that Lord of death himself, Shengi, now here's explaining Jebo Meva. It means, so he has no master. I see one way to interpret that, Jebo Meva. Actually, I think the word is Kara. Kara is K long A R A. Then one meaning of Kara is, it has several possible meanings. One is, what is it here? It can mean exertion, either way. So one way is, first one is no master. Kara means he has no master. So it means, Shengi Kurwar Jevabome. There's no other master who can force him to act. Kurwar Jevabome, who can instigate him. He doesn't answer to anybody else. And then another way it's interpreted is Randi Jan Shen Kuwami. Then he also doesn't have to resort to Randi Jan Shen Kuwamimbe. Therefore, Raniki. Now here is emphasizing the pronoun. He himself, he himself meets out the punishment of death. Java means to punish, literally. Java is a noun which means punishment.
Mhm.
Java means then to beat out the punishment. Verb. Then in let's say in Shankara's text, he says, "Kivucheba, me kivucheba, tohtuna." Me means human. So no human, by his exertion, can stop the Lord. So that's another way of interpreting Jebuna. Right? He has no master, and no one can stop him. The Chanakirti gives all of those interpretations of Jebuna. Now here's how we should think of him. Shema is like an executioner. Shema means executioner. Redi nombo dengba. Redi nombo sharp sword. Dengba means raised. Dengba tabu. He is like an executioner whose sword is raised. Your head is in the block. His sword is raised. Dengba tabu. So shukpa. So he is. Shukpa means he is inclined, right? He is. His whole purpose is is to end life, right? In our own mortality, we have within us, right, that capacity for our lives to end at any moment, like as if we had inside us an executioner whose sword was raised. So the person who is subject to that, right? Gangla Yer means whoever has that quality, that he is subject to that Lord of Death. Sun mi sun, Jida del Raleva Yerba. Sun means whether you live or die, whether you live or don't live, depends upon the Lord of Death. He has that, he can determine that. He's who decides whether we live or die. We don't. Then there means here that person who's subject to such a Lord of Death. Then how should we live? How should we be? We should be Chiteki Simba. Chiteki Simba means Chita means an omen of death. If we experience an omen of death, right, it means, oh, now I know my death is imminent. Then nowadays the omen is 6 months to live. Then that is a Chiteki Simba. Chiteki Simba means then gripped by an omen of death. So, had an omen of death befall you, right? Or here it says, Gola Meshorwata. That's image. I think the person whose head or clothing is on fire. And anybody who's in that, do what you can to make something valuable spiritually of your life, although before you're destroyed. Okay? That kind of heedfulness you should have. That you should have a heedfulness in which you are feeling the great sense of urgency, extreme sense of urgency. Means if you fail to have that kind of heedfulness, to exert yourself in cultivating the art of doing that, instead being like, then here is now Nelshin Nilopa. Nelshin means that person who has nothing to worry about, right? Is Nelma. Then here it explains what is that. Shida Gidu Chombe Nelma. The person who has nothing to worry about is a person who has destroyed the Lord of Death. Then who is that? That is Arhats or Buddha. Nelma. Sangye Dan Jachomba. Buddha and Arhats. Then that is the hero. So that's how Chandrakirti explains Nelma. But literally, I think the word Nelma means a person who is in a state of ease, in a state where nothing is bad, everything is fine, nothing to worry about, like that. If you to act like that when you're subject to the Lord of Death, Shindu means to be like that. Ni Lokjing. Ni Lopa means to be asleep. I don't think it means literally to sleep more than you need to. I think it means not to feel compelled to act spiritually. Right? So here he glosses sleep as if you fail to exert yourself in regard to the methods, the spiritual practices, which can overcome the Lord of Death, or can counteract the Lord of Death. Then that person, what could be more wrong than that? Then that means a heedless person. That is a heedless person, and also lumba means fool. A heedless fool. Shenjiyo. What other person could be more foolish or more heedless than that? Then mitapala yanda yandu gomne. It's concluding statement. Therefore, so meditate on impermanence. Strive to gain something of your value. Okay. I want to let's see. There's a handout of the 4 maras. Yeah. Chakashidru, Rishi Pongsu. I think only in Tibetan. Sorry, I'll read it to you. Do you have it? Did you get it? It was there. It's a Shone Chakashidru. Shone Chakashidru was a Setterman scholar from the 1600s, and this is from his commentary on some Alankara. It's a kind of a minor point in relation at the very end of the 4th chapter, commentary of the Malankara. And this is describing the 4 maras in the Hinana sense and in the Mahayana sense. Okay, so one of them is the Mara of death. Okay, so there's 4 maras. Okay, Ranugla means what he believes is correct interpretation of the 4 maras. Yushi Kyoryete. There are distinctions regarding the 4 maras. Remember we said before the heaps that are subject to the mental fiction, the impure heap. So those 5 heaps themselves are the skandamar. That are really a reference. You can say that almost is referring to truth of suffering. But they are a destructive state in the sense of being all are klesham, and they are a source of destruction. The destruction of having to remain in something. Haibu Garawangchu is Devaputra Mara. Devaputra Mara is actually a samsaric force that is considered a being, a worldly god. In the desire realm, there are 6 levels of worldly god. The highest level called Shindu Wangjing. Shindu Wangjing means they able to control others. Simple of those gods who have the power to control others is called Dugara Wangchu. Wangchu is the Ishvara, it's a powerful god. Then it means that his quality is he wants to maintain the ability to manage all beings, not let them get out of his control. So when any person is practicing Dharma, and they are developing qualities which will enable them to become free of his control. Doesn't like it. So what does he do? He puts obstacles in front of him, attempt to distract you. Then that is a force in the samsara universe that we can become subject to, and we need to be mindful of. And that's one mark, working. What we do. Then then when we undergo death due to the power of karma and mental affliction, right? We do not control the death. It is controlled by our karma and our mental affliction. So one means we have, Sopu Wangbo means the life force in Buddhism is not a positive quality. It's not mental. It's not physical. It's a condition in either a full life or to have our life cut short. Then that force, which really keeps us alive, is called Sopu Wangbo, the life force. So when that life force ceases, then that's another way of saying when we die. So that quality of having our life force then suspended or come to an end, that is chidagi. That is the Lord's death. Right? There's a subtle form of the former. Okay? Marikbe Batak Chamo means ignorance. If we become an arhat, right, then we have terminated all the mental affliction. Okay, but there's still some trace left of those mental afflictions that affect us, as evidenced by certain inappropriate. Even though they don't have mental affliction, they still can commit those kinds of errors. Then those subtle kind of traces of ignorance, that is and then also even the bodhisattvas who become Aryas. And in the Arya level 10 Arya level, when the bodhisattva reaches, that is the big the kind of sign change afflictions are. At any rate, it says they don't commit ordinary karma. They don't commit, right? They commit pure karma. They're still subject to dualistic thought. Then even they have achieved Arya status. They are still creating karma, which will necessary to be reborn, and which will require them to abandon their physical bodies. They're not immortal. So those skandhas, which are still creating that kind of sapamele, will take birth by the power of that pure karma. That is subtle. This is a little bit complicated, but at any rate, you're still creating this kind of karma, and that's the skandhas which create that is their skandha, subtle skandha. Then the subtle traces of their ignorance is their subtle kleshama. They don't have kleshas, but they still have traces in them. And that also is that subtle form of mental affliction is the subtle form of the and then then the fact that the 8th level bodhisattvas, they still have to change their lives at some point. Then that quality is the subtle Lord of Death. So that's an explanation of it. Then that's one part. The second part is, when are those destroyed? When are those defeated? Okay. 유시락박정수 carrier. Now, how are those, what form of those four Mars overcome? 백명이 왕국잖아. In the according to Hinayana system. 백명이 통합 내. Once you reach the seeing path, Arya path, when you perceive selflessness directly, 통합 내 발굴유락박정. Then you are no longer subject to the Devaputra Mars. Because you've seen truth. You can't be deceived. Okay? Then the rest of them, then when they become arahat, but still alive, they destroyed the rough form of the kleshama. When they become arahat and still alive, they overcome the rough form of kleshama. Then when the Hinayana Arhat passes away, then in the Hinayana system, it means then no more reborn, right? Then those persons who would do Rapa, then they will no longer be subject to the Lord of Death. Because according to Buddhism, anyone that is born as a samsara, the rough form of the Lord of Death. Right. And also then also the rough form of the Skandamara, they're impure. They still have the physical body produced by mental affliction. Then that is impure. Then, but when they pass away, they separate from that. So when the nirvana without remainder, the normal expression, then the last two Maras are the rough form of the last two Maras are destroyed. Okay, so according to this system, then Gachoma, then you are Nelma, you become Arahant. Then in the Mahayana system, there is something called signs of irreversibility. Then it means they cannot fall. And when they achieve those marks, and usually Joralam comes before the path of seeing, Prayoga Marga. Jorlamba means person who reached the Prayoga Marga. Pyramid of the top, and they achieve those irreversible marks of irreversibility. Then that person destroyed the rough form of Devaputra. That means the external samsara God no longer can affect them. Chirik Patang, Nuing Durva, our Mahayana seeing path, and they achieve direct realization of ultimate truth as a bodhisattva. Who would do Rapa? Then here it says the rough form of the Skandama destroy. Then this is really actually very in the Julama, right? The Ratnagosha Vibhara, the main Mahayana text on Buddha nature. It says when the Mahayana Bodhisattva reaches Arya status, then they abandon suffering and they abandon then birth, almost as if they were Arhat, because they're no longer subject to samsara forces. Then actually you would think, well, they still have mental afflictions. They have not removed all mental afflictions. How is that possible? And that's the one unique tenet of that. So therefore here it says, no longer are they subject to Rapa. They're not subject to the rough form of Skandamara, nor the rough form of Lord of Death, because they abandon samsaric death. It means they're born by the power only of Noam, by the compassion, and then they have the power. They also have the power to choose their leader. Then Then here it says, Sagyevane. Then when they reach the 8th level, Nyomombe du Rakwa. No, sorry. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Nyomombe du Rakwa. Then the rough form of the mental fiction means they abandoned all the mental fiction. Jirikwadan, Wingyoba. And also, no manifest form. The mental afflictions have two forms. The dormant or potential form. Right now, you may not be angry, but you have the seeds of anger. That is palavanya. Then, if those seeds awaken and you become angry, then that is overt or manifest form of anger. So when they reach the 8th level of Bodhisattva state, they no longer show any overt form of the mental fiction, but they have not completely eradicated all the seeds in them. According to the Abhisamayalankara school, which is not Pasangita, the Nindrachibit Muranguva, like Harbhadra's school. Pasangita school abandoned all the mental fiction and their seeds. Dushi Tamo Malubachom and Sangyabata Gunyani, and Dushi Tamo, all the subtle forms of the four maras are completely abandoned when you achieve. Okay, so anyway, that is a technical explanation of the four maras. And here we are mainly talking about the rough form of the Lord of Death, or the Mara of Metallic. Okay, so I kept you a little bit longer. This is my usual habit. Oh, that's good. 9 minutes only. I would go on forever, but we have to stop. So then I have to ask you a question. Today's 15th, next Saturday, 22nd, right? So I'm willing to come, but I know we're in holiday period. So some busy for whatever reason. And census, what do you want to do? Do you want to have class next week, or are you willing to put it off until another time? That's a
Thumbs up.
class? Yes? Nobody wants to say no? Okay, so anyway, it's possible you can, or even if not live, I think it's just posted. Okay, so that we'll have to end the class here today. I hope I didn't overwhelm you with this material, and I hope that you are getting a sense of what this topic is about. And if you're reading the Tibetan, I hope you are able to follow. At any rate, by all means, I encourage you to read the explanation. The first volume of the English translation of the Lang Chum is available. You can read the section that I went over, and you can read that. Yeah. Oh, sure. Back at you. Thanks for coming. Okay. Yeah.
Which version of Language Shema do you prefer?
I don't know one translation. That's the only one that I know. There is. Okay. Any questions? Anything? Yeah. You good? Okay. So then typically when we're at the end of the class, recite a prayer. The prayer is meant to be moa. And moa means a dedication prayer. Whatever virtue we may, small or large, have gained today in these last 3 hours, and we dedicate to all sentient beings, enlightenment. There are many ways to take it. That's the yeah. So this prayer is actually called Langrimalam. it comes from, it's in the very end of the Lamcham. So typically, for a long typed class, then spare okay? And not the first book, start with deadening. Okay? You have Lo Rangi Jishin Tobe Lambine Shudase Vedran Betagegi Drove Yiki Mambase Jene Yewe Temba Yun